Hey everybody, Mr. Bostic, coming at you with another Harley CTLA tutorial. Today we're going to be doing some stuff in Photoshop. We're going to be working with some and creating some lightning, version 2 of the lightning. For my students, you've already done version 1, which was lightning coming out from a single point going out to multiple directions. Now we're going to get a little bit more in control of our lightning and actually create your lightning yourself and tell it how you want it to be made. And we're going to also be making some other effects, things like some mist, a vortex, and some sparkles, and what is that thing called? Starburst. All right. I have to give props to Burt Monroy with Pixel Perfect. This is a straight pull off of his. I'm just going to try to give you guys a little bit more detail into what we're doing as we're going through it. All right. So here we go. We've got our image of our wizard. To make our lightning, we need to have some more space at the top. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to extend our canvas. To extend our canvas, that's going to add extra space up here. Now the big thing is, what do we add up here? What color is going to fill this area? Like I was talking to you guys today, you don't want to try to go through and pick this color by eye. That's really hard for you to go in here and be like, okay, it's a bluish, maybe something like that. You're guessing, and it's really hard to find that yourself. So what you want to do is you want to use your eyedropper tool. All right, we've all seen the eyedropper, use it to give medicine and all that kind of stuff. And what you're going to do is, if you look at my foreground color, you need to sample, it's called sampling a color, from the very top of your image. Now the eyedropper is going to, the spot where the water drop will come out is the spot that the tool uses to pick up its pixel. So you want to put that at the very top, as far up as you can, and click, and you'll notice your foreground color is going to change to the color of the top of that of the image. So once you've got that picked, we're going to go to our menu bar. We're going to image, canvas size. And here is where we choose what our canvas size is going to be. Now mine automatically comes up in inches. I don't want to work in inches, so I'm going to change my increment to pixels. Now I don't want to change anything about this way. I don't want to change the width. I'm dealing with the height. So my width is 600. I'm going to leave it at that. My height, I'm going to add about 300 pixels. So I'm going to change it to 900 pixels. Now the thing is, I need to decide, where is that extra space going to be added? Do I want it at the top, bottom, left, right, all the way around? You can do all of that with this. What you need to do is right here where it says anchor. This is how you tell it where you want that extra space to go. If I just leave it like this, it's going to add space according to the height. You want it, the way I like to think of this, the easiest way I know, is this center spot is your main object. Alright, so I look at this dot as my wizard. Where do I want my wizard to be when I'm done? Alright, I don't want it still in the center of the image. It needs to be at the bottom center. I don't want him over here. I don't want him over here. I want him at the bottom and centered. So I need to move this dot to the bottom center square. So if I hit this down arrow, my dot is now there. I don't want it here. That would be bottom left corner. I don't want it here, bottom right corner. So you can see you can move these around by just clicking on the arrows, and click on the arrow of the direction you want that dot to go. But I want this dot to end up the bottom center. This open area here is where my extra space is going to go. Then you have to be careful to tell it what you want it to fill with. Right now, if I was to hit OK, it's going to fill with black. I don't want it to fill with black. I've set my foreground color to this dark blue. So I want to tell it to use my foreground. Okay. And now when I hit OK, I've now got a seamless extended canvas up here. All right. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to be making my mist. All right. The mist is going to go, my lightning is going to go through. So to do that, every new element you make in Photoshop, you want to make a new layer. So I'm going to go to the bottom of my layers panel, put my cursor on the button. Remember, if you put your cursor on any button, and let it sit for like 2 seconds, it'll tell you the name or what that button does. So go down here and find my create new layer button. Boom, there it is. I'm going to go to my default color. So I'm going to press, because my foreground is now blue, I want these to go back to default. So I could click on this button here, which is my default foreground and background colors, or I could just press the letter D. Boom, changes to black foreground, white background. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a filter on here. So I can go to filter, render, clouds. Now take a look at this. I'm just going to show you something. I'll click it there and it gives me my clouds. I'm going to make an extra layer. Don't do this with me. Now I'm going to hold down my option key and go down to render clouds. See the difference? This is my new one holding my option key. This is the original one. Alright, you see I get, by holding down that option key, it modifies what happens. It makes my effect more intense. So the whites are brighter white and the darks are darker, versus this being all kind of a mid-level gray overall. Alright, so I'm going to keep this layer. I'm going to delete that layer, just drag it to the garbage can. But I want this layer. Now, in the Pixel Perfect, Burt Monroy tells you to go through and find a shape inside of the clouds. Honestly, I don't think that has to be done. I never have luck trying to find a shape in there and work with it, so I just do it. But you could go through here and hold option, go filter, and keep doing clouds until you find something that you think is nice. I don't worry about all that. I just do it. So here's my clouds. I'm going to apply some more filters to it. I'm going to filter, stylize, find edges. And that's going to give me this. Alright, all this waviness. Then I'm going to invert. Your invert, you can go to your image. Remember that image adjustments, you're going to go there quite a bit. Image adjustments, and you're going to go to invert or Command I. And now I want to make these brighter. I want to make my whites brighter, my darks darker. So I'm going to do my levels. Image adjustments, levels. Alright. And with my levels, I want to drag my whites. Remember, we're not dealing with the output levels. Don't mess with this stuff down here. You're going to mess with the input levels. I'm going to grab my white slider, drag it down here, and notice the farther I go, the brighter my whites get. My dark, I'm going to pull it up a little bit. Just get it kind of dark there. Alright. It's up to you. Remember, there's no right or wrong. You make it look the way you want it to look. If you get it wrong, just delete the layer and make it again. Nothing we're doing is hard, okay? Hit OK. Boom. There we go. Now, I am going to take my opacity of layer 2. I'm just going to drop it down so I can see my wizard down in there. And I'm going to go to my brush. My eraser. Now, with my eraser tool, what I want to do is I want to use a soft edge brush. Alright, and I demonstrated this in class, but I'm going to demonstrate it here again, just in case if you weren't here or you need a refresher. Soft edge brush, this is what it does. If I go to my brush tip and my hardness is set at 0, and I come in here and I erase, look at my edge. Alright, notice that you have your texture here, and then it fades off to nothing. That is called a soft or a feathered edge. Okay, if I do the same thing, my eraser tool, and I take my hardness all the way up to 100%, and I erase, now look at what I get. This edge here, this is called a hard edge. 1 second it's like this, the next second it's different. Alright, you don't get that fade. Alright, so that's the difference between a hard edge brush and a soft edge brush. I very rarely use a hard edge brush. I almost always use a soft edge just because it blends a lot better. But there are reasons to use hard edge brushes, but we'll get into that later. So I'm going to step backward. So I've done something I don't want to do. I can edit, step backward, and it takes me back from what I've already done. Alright. Change my opacity. I'm just going to, on layer 2, instead of having to slide my slider, I could just use my numbers. So if I press the number 3, change my opacity to 30%. If I press 6, change it to 60. All right, that's a quick way. You always want to work faster, not harder. So instead of having to come over here and click and slide, I can just be up here. Like, okay, I need to see through it. Press 4. Oh, it's not enough. Maybe 3. Boom. There we go. All right. Eraser, brush, hardness 0, and I'm going to use a small, kind of a smaller brush. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to erase so that I end up with just this a flume. All right, just kind of like kind of the shape of a tornado. If this orb was the ground and the sky, the tornado always starts thin at the bottom and then comes up and is thick at the top or wider. So a couple ways you could do it. I could just come in here, and I know I don't want anything down here, so I could just get kind of a bigger brush. I'm using my bracket keys to make my brush bigger or smaller. So right next to the letter P, you've got a bracket key, 2 bracket keys. The one on the left makes your brush smaller, one on the right makes your brush bigger. And just come in here and just basically erase all this bottom. I know I don't want any mess down there. And then I could come in here and be like, okay, well, maybe it comes out there, comes up there, maybe on this side, something like that. All right, and check my opacity back up. And of course, now my numbers aren't working, but that's okay. Maybe I'm not on the. There you go. You got me on your selection tool. I don't remember what number makes it 100%. Is it 0? There you go, 0. Alright, so here's my flume. This is what my lightning is going to go through. And obviously it's your piece if you want to go in and tweak it a little bit. Maybe bend that out a little bit or whatever. Alright, there it is. Now, we're going to colorize this. Hue saturation, image adjustments, hue saturation, image adjustments, hue saturation, or you can just do Command U. Boom, pulls it up. We're going to hit colorize, bump up that saturation, and I'm going to choose a blue. Something that's kind of close to that blue. Maybe, I don't know. It's a little dark, I don't know. Whatever. You choose your color. I don't care what kind of color you choose. And there it is. Now, what we're going to do is I am going to save this color because I want to use the same color for my lightning bolt. So instead of having to try to remember these numbers, I'm just going to save it. Now, I'm using CS6. You guys are using CS5. On CS5, you've got, it says okay, cancel, and I think it says like load and save or something like that. You're going to click load. For me, I've got to go to my dialog box here and say save preset. I'm sorry, you're going to click save. I'm going to click save preset. Alright, and I'm just going to save it to my desktop, and I'm going to name it blue. Alright, hit OK or save. Boom, I've now saved this setting, and I can hit OK there. And there it is. Now, my mist, I can't see through it. I see all this black. I don't want to see black. I want to see the blue of the sky behind it. So I'm going to change the blending mode. Remember, our blending mode is found inside of our layers panel. At the top right now, it almost always starts off as normal. All right, we want to change that. So hit the drop down menu, change it to screen. Boom. So now I can see through my mist. All right. And you need to get into the habit of naming your layers, because as you go, it's going to be important. So my layer 2 right here, if I double click on the word, not anywhere else, on the word that says layer 2, I can then change it. So I'm going to name this mist. Enter. Alright, so there's my mist. Next, I'm going to make my lightning. So I'm going to make a new layer. And I'm going to set my default colors, and I'm going to fill this new layer with white. So right now, white is my background color. So if I hold Command and hit delete, remember, use 2 hands. Keep your right hand on your mouse use your thumb and hold down command and use your pointer finger or whatever, hit delete, and it will fill with your background color, which right now is white. Go ahead and we're gonna change our opacity, change it down to 3, just so I can see this shape here. Now we're gonna go to our brush. All right. With our brush, we want to make sure we use a soft edge brush. Hardness is at 0. Now what I do want to show you is the difference, like in my move tool, difference between when it comes to the size of your soft edge brush. So I press B to go to my brush tool, make my brush bigger. Now watch what happens. I got this huge brush, I'm at like 400, and I click here and I drag down. All right, look at the fade here. All right, that's a lot of fade. Versus if I go to my brush tool and I make this a small brush, still at 100% or 0% hardness, and I do it. Take a look at that. Still have a fade, but look how short, how small that fade is versus how wide this fade is. All right, so the bigger your brush, the more of a fade you're gonna get. All right, so that's up to you. I'm gonna step backward and get it back full, go back to my 30% and go back to my brush, and I'm gonna get a decent sized brush. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna keep the left side of this circle, and I wish I had something to show you. Right now the left side of my circle is touching the edge of my image. So that's the area of the circle that's touching my image right now is the spot that I'm talking about. I'm going to keep that part going down the center of this mist. Okay, because I want my lightning to come down the middle. All right. So to make that happen, I have to have the lightning is made on the edge of contrast where the white touches the black or that gray faded area. So to do that, I'm going to use my brush. I'm going to keep, remember that side there, I'm going to make it come down the center of this flume. So come here, click and hold, and just keep it. I'm not even really paying attention to the black that's painting. I'm just looking kind of at the edge of my circle. All right. And I just keep it kind of in the middle of the, what is that stuff called? The mist. All right. So I'll show you again. Keep it over here and just kind of bring it down the middle and just watch. And if you pay attention, you can see, boom. All right. There's my lightning. Now you can just bring this down to the bottom. Some of my students were asking, can I just come to the side? You could. Doesn't really matter. All right. But you got that there. This is what I end up with when I come back to 100% opacity. So now all I'm going to do is finish this out. I'm going to take this other half and just fill it with black. All right. So now this right here is where my lightning is going to be. All right. So I've got it there. I'm going to, what is the next step? Difference clouds. So filter, render, difference clouds. Boom. There's my lightning. I'm going to invert it. Command I or image adjustments. Invert. Levels. One of my levels are image adjustment levels. I'm going to take my blacks. I'm going to drag those down to get it darker. Drag my grays down until I get some lightning that I like. All right. Remember, sorry. You got to make it look the way you want it to look. All right. So hit OK when you're ready. And there it is. Colorize it. Image adjustments, colorize. Or, I'm sorry, image adjustments, hue saturation. Hit colorize. And I'm going to now load. So you got those buttons over here. Click where it says load. All right. Load preset. And I put it on my desktop and I named it blue. So you're looking for the file called blue or whatever you named it, .ahu. All right, that's a color profile. Open, and boom, there it automatically loads to that blue that I had. All right, you can hit OK. My lightning is done. I now want to put it in screen blending mode so I can see through it. There it is. Use my eraser. I'm using a soft edge eraser, and I can get rid of any of these extra cloudage or extra lightning that I don't want. Alright, it's up to you. I want my lightning to kind of come from the edge of that piece there, and yeah. Get rid of whatever extra you don't want using your eraser. And I can do that because I'm on that layer. Now, name my layer. Instead of layer 1, I want it to be lightning. Boop. Alright, and I see I got a little extra stuff down here for this mist. So I'll go there and get rid of that. Alright, there's my mist and my lightning. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a vortex. Alright, so I'll make a new layer. And I'm going to go to my elliptical marquee tool. Alright, remember, any tool that has this little triangle in the bottom right hand corner, that tells you that there's tools hidden underneath. So if you click and hold, you can access those on an elliptical marquee tool. And I'm just going to make an oval. Alright, remember, there's no right or wrong on your size and shape. Just make an oval. Alright, I am then going to sample some of this blue, one of the blues. So go to my eyedropper tool, and I'm going to sample a blue somewhere. And I just click around. It's kind of light. I kind of like that one. Alright, no right or wrong on your color. And then I'm going to go to my brush tool. Before I do that, check this out. If I fill this oval right now with my foreground color, so Option Delete, it gives me that. Alright, hard edge shape. I'm going to step backward and undo that. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to feather or soften this circle because I want the edges of the vortex to be soft. So I'm going to go to my select menu. Remember, your menus, look at the names of the menus. I'm dealing with a selection. So what I'm looking to do is under my select menu. Alright, I want to modify the selection, and what I want to do is feather it. So feather, I'm going to add a feather radius. I'm going to probably do something 15 maybe. Let's see what that does. Hit enter. I'm going to fill that with blue again. So Option Delete. And now you see, now that edge is soft. Alright, a nice softer edge. And I'm actually going to step backward. I'm actually going to feather that some more. Feather, we do 25. I'm feathering nice and a lot. Alright, so now if I did it, you see I have even more of a fade. Alright, and I'm hitting Command D to deselect it, and then after I deselected it and I see that is what I want, I'm doing Command Option Z to step backward. It's the same as going Edit, step backward. Alright, so there it is. I need to keep this selection there, so there it is, but step back, get rid of the blue. Now I'm going to use my brush, nice soft edge brush, and I'm going to come in here and just add some color tones. Now notice I'm kind of moving in the shape of the circle. It's up to you. I'm changing the size of my brush a little bit on some spots, and I'm not really caring how I do it. It's just kind of doing it, just adding some stuff. You know, it doesn't matter if I go out. Notice it just fades it off. You know, it might come out kind of cool. Who knows? You know, just play with it. See what you get. Make some stuff. Alright. Boom. So, I've got stuff inside of it. I'm going to do some filter. I'm going to go to style. No. I want to go to distort. And I'm going to use zigzag. Alright. Like Burt Monroy says, excuse me, forget the names of stuff. Just because it's called zigzag doesn't make it going to zigzag. You click on zigzag and you're using the style pond ripples. Alright, I'm going to take my amount and drag that up. Take my ridges and drag it up. And when I hit OK, boom, I now have this swirling vortex kind of thing. Alright, I'll deselect that, Command D, and I got my selection tool, I can move it around. Now, what I like to do right now, this looks like the vortex is kind of facing me. Don't really like that. So I'm going to do edit, transform, scale, and I'm going to just kind of make it skinnier. All right. It kind of changes the perspective. All right. You do have edit, transform, you do have skew and distort and perspective and stuff. You can play around with those if you want and kind of see what they do, you know, whatever you want to do. You can bring those in, kind of get, but whatever, it's your choice. You play around with it, you do what you think looks good, and there you go. All right, now I'm gonna kind of move it over a little bit because I kind of want my lightning to go into it. And for my lightning, I'm going to erase kind of this top section here. So it kind of ends inside of it, and maybe even on my mist a little bit too. Just because I want it all kind of coming from, either coming from or going into the vortex. All right. So name this vortex. Boom. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to do some sparkles that are going to go up here. So make a new layer. I'm going to go ahead and name it because I know what it's going to be. Sparkles. Sparkles. Boom. Now, I'm going to go to my brush. I'm going to set my default colors, letter D, black foreground, white background, but I want white as my foreground, so I'm going to hit X, and it's going to flip those two colors. And I'm going to go to my brush tool, and I'm going to open up my brush editor. Now, some of you might have your brush editor right here on this area here. If you don't, anytime you need any panel, all of these are panels. These are panels. Anytime you need a panel that you don't see, you can always get it from your window menu. Window, brush, not brush presets, brush. Boom, brings up my brush editor. Now, the way this is set up, there's three parts. You have this section over here, which are what I call your categories. All right. You have this section here, which are your category options. And then here you have your preview window. All right. Something you need to remember, to modify this, you got to turn on a category. Now the categories have these boxes that you can check off. You can, let's say I want to do scattering. I can just click this checkbox and notice it changed a little bit there, but my options didn't change. I've just turned on scattering, but I can't control how it's scattered. All right. You'll find this a lot in Photoshop when you try to do stuff like this in these kind of dialog boxes. To get the options to show up, it works the same in layer styles and all that other kind of stuff. You have to click on the name of the category that you're trying to change. When I click on the word scattering, it will not only check off the box, but it will change my options. So I can go to scattering, boom, and you'll see my options change and my scatter changes. All right, I'm gonna turn that off. Go back to brush tip shape. Now, I want to make stars. One thing people don't normally think about is the fact that the brush tool doesn't actually make a stroke. It's actually this, what you see here is a bunch of circles right next to each other that give the illusion to being a stroke. So what you have here is where it says spacing. If I pull that out, you can now see I'm separating those dots. As they come closer and closer and closer, they give the illusion of being solid, but they're really just a bunch of dots. All right. So you can take your spacing, drag that out. I want to make sure my hardness is at 0. Space it out so that you have your individual stars, and how much you do is up to you. Do it by eye. Try it. If it doesn't work, come back in and change it. So spacing, increase my spacing. I'm going to go to shape dynamics. I like to add a size jitter. All right, size jitter means that each one is going to be a different size. I don't want all my stars being the same, or my sparkles being the same size. So as I drag that up, notice I start getting some tiny ones and some big ones and stuff like that. All right, so change my size jitter, drag it up. Then scattering, click on the word. My scattering breaks those and makes them come away from each other. All right. And that's what I want. I want them to scatter out. All right. How much is up to you. So from there, that is what you need. If you come back over to your to your image, I can still change the size of my brush. And by changing the size of my brush, it's going to change how big these sparkles are. If I get a nice big brush and I do my sparkles, notice they're huge. They're off the page. All right, I'm going to undo that. If I make it small, all right, I can come here and I'm painting, all right, and paint my sparkles. Now, to me, that's still a little big, so I'm going to undo that and make it even smaller. And just come in here and just, boom, and add some sparklies, all right, coming up through my my lightning. All right, there it is. Last but not least, we're going to make a starburst. All right, so I'm gonna zoom in here. You can do Command plus, all right, and zoom in. You can go to your zoom tool and drag a box. That's normally how I normally do it. CS5, you'll drag a box, you'll actually see a box. When you let go, it'll zoom you in. CS6, it automatically just zooms you as you drag, but come in kind of tight. All right, we're gonna go back to our brush tool, and I'm gonna make a new layer. I'm gonna name it Starburst, and I am gonna go back to my brush editor. Alright, so it should be over here. It looks like brushes inside of a cup, or you can go back to your window menu, do that. I'm going to turn off my shape dynamics and my scattering. I'm going to go back to my brush tip shape category, and I want to make this come down. I want it to look like a solid line. Okay, so bring that down. You want to do a transfer. Alright, turn on transfer, and where you see the control under opacity, you want to change it to fade. All right, and my fade amount, I'm gonna start off 30, a fade of 30. Now you have to do this step by step. If you don't, it's not gonna work. Okay, I'm gonna tell you what you're gonna do, and I'm not doing it yet. I'm gonna click and release in the spot that I want my starburst to start. Then I'm going to move my cursor to the direction I want the fade to go. I'm going to hold down my shift key and click, and it's going to connect the two spots that I clicked, the original spot and the new spot. It's going to connect them with a line, but since I've told it to fade, it's going to start off solid and fade to nothing. Let me show you. So I'll come out here. I'm going to click and release. There's my spot. I'm going to move my cursor up. I haven't held any keys yet. I'm just going to move up. I'm going to hold down my shift key, and I'm going to click and release again. And it now fades up. That's it. Those are the steps. Now I want to do down, so I have to do the same thing again. All right. I have to put my cursor where the center of my starburst is, click and release, move my cursor down, hold shift, and click and release. Alright, that gives me my up and down. I'm going to do the same thing for left and right, but I'm going to change my setting a little bit. Change it from 30 to 15. Boom. And then do the same thing. Start in the middle, click and release. Come to the side, hold shift, click and release. Then do it again. Center, click and release. Come to the side, hold shift, click and release. Now the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put my cursor in the center, and I'm going to make it bigger, like probably something like that. All right, I'm still on a soft brush, and I'm just going to click and release one time. Boom. All right, gives me a nice little starburst. So now I can come here. My starburst is on its own layer. Right now I made it kind of big, so I'm going to zoom out, Command minus, and edit, transform, scale. I'm going to go to a corner, hold shift, and drag it up to get it to the size I want. And I can place it. Remember, don't grab the center. I'll move the center point. And enter. Boom, there it is. If I want more, I just duplicate that layer by dragging that layer to the Create New Layer button. I've got another one now. Here, maybe transform, Command T. Make that one a little smaller. And maybe do one more. copy it again. Copy the copy of the starburst. Maybe put another one up here or something. I don't know. Kind of hide it, tuck it in there. All right, there it is. And in the end, there you got it. There you have it. And you have your wizard. All right, so give that a try, guys. Remember, have fun, try some different stuff out. Remember, nothing that we did was hard. Okay, big deal if it messes up or you don't like it. Do not give up. Do not stop working. Delete the layer and try it again. All right, you guys are not quitters. There is no such thing as quitting in my classroom. Give it a try. Have some fun. Make it your own. Have a good one, guys. Peace out.